to another highly questionable What's Best on the show today, Bo.
Told you guys, you couldn't stay mad at Beyonce, could you?
Vamos, papi.
Would it make sense for the Clippers to trade Blake Griffin?
What are they getting? That matters. No, not on a slow Tuesday. It doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it anyway. Okay, fair enough. The Atlanta Hawks have a package that might be enticing. I do think it matters what they'd be getting, but this team was very close last year. Beat the Spurs, was a quarter away from the Western Conference Finals with a big lead against the Rockets. I'd wait until after the season, though, to explore this a little more, Bomani, pending what it is that I could get. Because after the season, if you can get in those Kevin Durant sweepstakes, if he picks you, then you have a side and trade piece, as well as being able to just trade him because you might get a better package of prospects.
Here's the thing, though. Either you trade him or you don't. I don't know how long you can get away with dangling him if you're the Clippers, because they made the decision to make Doc the coach, Doc the GM. When you've got no separation there, if you don't trade Blake Griffin and the whole world knows you're talking about trading Blake Griffin, even though you say you're not trying to trade Blake Griffin, you're Doc Rivers. You're the dude that's got to look him in the eye every day at practice. There's no suit and evil guy up in the office to be mad at. You're the one that's got to deal with it. I'd make a decision quick.
I know someone who wants Blake Griffin. It's an even trade. Kevin Love for Blake Griffin. That's what LeBron is thinking about. He says, I can improve the cap if I have Blake Griffin on my side, and I can see that ring at the end of the tunnel there. But I need Blake.
That sounds like a good idea until you remember Blake Griffin can't make three-pointers, which, as we go into this evolving game, kind of becomes a bigger deal.
I just hope that the equipment managers in Cleveland are tough guys.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Cheap joke.
Should the Miami Heat start to think of life without Chris Bosh?
All right, Chris Bosh missed the All-Star game because of a calf injury that made people worry, because the last time we heard about him having a calf injury, that was the beginning of finding out he had the problem with the blood clots. The concern is there again. If Chris Bosh has to go on blood thinners, he can't play basketball. It would effectively be career-ending. If you're the Heat, do you have any other choice but to start thinking about what life without Chris Bosh would be like? Because this is a concern. It'll be a concern down the line, but it's here in front of you right now. You do have to think about what you do if you don't have Chris Bosh.
In the modern climate, though, we cannot wait for more information before we start speculating. So basically, the reporting on this has been all over the place. Some people have reported that he will have to go back on blood thinners, and if he does have to go on blood thinners, that would be career-ending. Some people have said he doesn't, if there is another clot, have to go on blood thinners. And when he was asked about specifically the last time he talked about it, he said he doesn't know if he would have to go on blood thinners. We can wait for a second before moving on from Chris Bosh for the medical examinations to come in and to tell us whether or not Chris Bosh is available or not. We're allowed to wait. We don't have to jump to the conclusion just yet.
I'm glad you came with that parable after I got finished talking, because then I wouldn't have had anything to say.
What do you make of Ronda Rousey's appearance on The Ellen Show?
She was very emotional, very revealing. She said she had thoughts of suicide after her embarrassing loss to Holly Holm. Let's listen. She was in tears.
Honestly, like my thought, I was like in the medical room, and I was like down in the corner. I was sitting in the corner, and I was like, what am I anymore if I'm not this? And I was literally sitting there and like thinking about killing myself, and that exact second I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore? And no one gives a shit about me anymore without this. And then, to be honest, I looked up and I saw my man, Travis, was standing there, and I was looking up at him, and I was just like, I need to have his babies. I need to stay alive. That was like, really, that was
You need to stay alive.
I talked to her on the radio. Her father committed suicide, and she broke down talking about that on the radio. I do think that most people will extend compassion to her, but I do think also they wouldn't do so to a male fighter who was doing the same sort of thing. If Conor McGregor was on the Ellen Show and he was weeping about his shameful performance, my guess is that we wouldn't be compassionate about that one.
Well, you're always glad to hear about somebody who's been down in a terrible place when they say that they were able to climb up out of it. You also have to raise the question and wonder, though, if some of the flagrant disrespect that Ronda Rousey showed her opponents when she was on top, if maybe some of that slows down after what has happened here, because what she talked about, the pain of losing and being fearful that if she wasn't that person, there are a whole lot of other people who have happened to live those lives. She handled things when she was on top like a lot of people would have handled them when she's on top. I do wonder how that gives her a view of things on the bottom now.
Surprised that no one showed up to the anti-Beyonce protest?
Okay, there was a free online petition that nobody basically signed, and it's not fair to say that no one showed up to it because reporters showed up to it and police officers showed up to it. What didn't show up was protesters. There were no protesters. There it is. There is all of the people in the entire country who are anti-Beyonce. They are all gathered there to be protected by the finest police officers we have.
Now, there were counter-protesters who did show up. Now, look, let me tell you something about causes. You learn a lot about people's dedication. See, there they are right there. You learn a lot about people's dedication to a cause by their willingness to go stand outside in bad weather. Those people love Beyonce more than people were mad at that halftime show. Like, they forgot why they were supposed to be mad. They woke up this morning mad at Kendrick Lamar.
I don't really care about this story. Can we see Beyonce again?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, there
Yeah,
we go.
that's
That
what
seems like a good idea.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Viva la revolucion.
I asked Bomani if he noticed while this was happening that this was a tribute to the Black Panthers. He had no idea.
No, not at all. I didn't recall them wearing leather. It just got to be a little bit confusing.
I don't recall them wearing fishnets either.
Coming up next on Highly Questionable.
What's up?
You put the symbol of eternal love in the Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Well, I mean, it was still in the case and all that, man. It wasn't like in the bread. It was in the case, you know.
Joining us at the beach today is Jen Jones.
Green Bay Packers receiver. He's here on behalf of his foundation, Love Jones for Kids. It aims to enrich the lives of children living in disadvantaged and underserved communities. Go to lovejones4kids.org to find out more. Let's get to know him a little bit. James, your story, your path, your journey is kind of crazy. What do you look back on and say, that was the craziest part of my path?
Oh, man, I mean, just the way I grew up, man. I grew up homeless, you know, for the first 15 years of my life. So it's a lot of things that happen in my life now, you know, that happened in my past that really helps me, you know, get through the things I go through now. And, you know, growing up back then homeless, you know, it really just taught me how to be humble, you know, taught me how to stay hungry, and, you know, really made me appreciate the little things a lot more.
I think it's hard for people to appreciate what it means to be homeless for 15 years. So is that like in and out of shelters? So like, what does that mean, I guess?
Man, I've been through it all, man. I've been in and out of homeless shelters. I've slept on park benches, and, you know, I've been from motel to motel, and, you know, the first 15 years of my life was rough.
What do you remember about being scared? Was there a time that you were most scared during that time?
The time I was most scared is when we had to leave the homeless shelter, because you never knew where you were going to go after that. The times you were in the homeless shelter, you know, they give you 3 months to stay in there before you got to leave, because they give another family an opportunity to stay in there. So when that 3 months was up and you had to leave, that was the most scariest time, because you never knew where you were going to go. So when that happened, I always was a little scared, but I believed in my mom. She worked it out. She made sure that, you know, we were going to be safe.
When you talk about sleeping on a park bench, was that a 1 or 2 time occurrence, or did that happen a lot?
Well, I mean, it was probably about 9 or 10 times, you know, where we really were struggling and really didn't have nowhere to go, didn't have enough money to scrounge up to get a motel room. You know, we're out of the homeless shelter, and, you know, so it was times where you didn't have nobody to call, and, you know, that was your last option.
Were you going to school at this time? Like, what was happening with other kids? What was happening with friends?
Yeah, well, when I was young, man, it was 5 or 6 different elementary schools, because we moved so much and, you know, went around the Bay Area so much. So I went to about 5 or 6 different elementary schools. And then when I got to high school, I moved with my grandma, and I was able to get some stability and stay with her for 4 years and, you know, be able to go to the same high school before I went to San Jose State.
When and how did you become comfortable telling this story without any kind of shame or embarrassment? Like, was this a thing that you came to, or did you come by it naturally from the very beginning?
To be honest with you, I never was ashamed of the situation. And I never wanted to make my mom feel like I was ashamed of the situation. So when I was in elementary school, when I was in middle school, you know, my friends would ask me, hey, man, can we come over to your house? And I would tell them, you know, straight up, no, I live in the homeless shelter, man. We're not allowed to have, you know, any outside guests come in there. And, I never was ashamed. I never felt like I needed to be ashamed. Everybody goes through something. That's something that we were going through. So I never was ashamed. And then when I got to the NFL and got on this platform, they asked me to share my story, and I told them without a doubt, if I'm able to raise awareness for homelessness and those kids out there, and I'm able to change some kids' lives, let's do it.
It's interesting what you said there, though. You were trying to make your mom feel okay about it, right? You're specifically saying there you didn't feel shame because you didn't want your mom to feel that you were ashamed.
Yeah, my mom was humbled. Not saying she was perfect. She had her own struggles. But at the same time, I seen my mom wake up. I seen her stand in front of 7-Eleven, stand in front of liquor stores, asking people for money. I seen her walk into different restaurants, asking for free food and all that stuff, and we didn't have no money. And I just seen her humble herself, through all the situations we've been through. So I wasn't going to do anything to make the situation worse, making it seem like it was her fault we were in there, or making it seem like, this was a terrible situation she got us in. So I tried to do my part, and I never was ashamed of her or the situation that we were in.
Was there one emotional moment above all others? You talked about wanting to get your mom out and buy her a home, but was there one moment where you felt like we made it and were able to share that with people with the kind of gratitude that echoes still today for you?
I would have to say that moment when I got drafted, man. When they called my name and all that we've been through, and when you set out a goal and for that goal to finally come true, and it was just a dream come true. And when we got drafted that day, the first thing I told my wife was, it's time to start a foundation. And that's when I started my foundation, Love Jones for Kids, and I immediately started reaching out to those homeless shelters, not only that I grew up in, but the homeless shelters back in Green Bay, back in Milwaukee, and we wanted to reach out to them kids and, be able to share our message and help them.
Let's go to a 3-shot here. James, thank you so much, really. That was really good. Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Not a problem.
Go ahead, Poppy. Ask James a question.
James, how do you propose to your wife?
Oh, my goodness. Very good question. I'm like a super romantic guy. No, I'm playing. Well, what happened was my wife is a big, big fan of Red Lobster. She's probably like us all. She loves the bread there, loves the biscuits. So I went a day before, gave them the whole setup to how I wanted it. I put the box, the rings in the bread. So, when they brought the bread out, she took her gum out of her mouth and was ready to eat all 7 biscuits that was in the basket. And she opened it up, and the ring was there, and I was already on my knee.
James!
What's up?
You put the symbol of eternal love in the Cheddar Bay biscuits?
Well, it was still in the case and all that, man. It wasn't like in the bread. It was in the case, It was nice and wrapped up. But when she flipped the napkin back, man, she seen the ring, man, and I was already on my knee, ready to propose. So it was good, man. She was crying, so I didn't even really have to say too much.
She loved the hell out of you and the Red Lobster, boy.
Woo! See you later, James. Thank you for being on. It was a good one. Thank you, James.
All right, thank you.
Go, papi. Straight from the go, papi. Chop up the soul, papi. Set on his goals, papi. I had the new papi. The bad mood, papi. The always rude, papi. Spaz in the news, papi. I miss the sweet, papi. Chop up the beats, papi. I gotta say, at that time, I like to meet papi. See, I invented papi. It wasn't any papis. And now, I look and look around, and there isn't so many papis. Questionable is broadcast from the Clevelander Hotel on beautiful South Beach, Miami. Time to play the game that thinks it is time to play the game called Do You Question? Do you question?
It's kind of meta, right? You give us topics and events and we question them.
Hell just happened.
Do you question if Steve Nash and his girlfriend share real love?
All right, going back to All-Star Weekend where Steve Nash is, Canada's basketball guy, so he was all over the stuff. What happened here?
Oh, that's Jon Stewart.
Whoa,
Oh,
whoa.
no. What is okay.
There's Jon Stewart having to be like, hey, let's talk about these bongos. Because he caught a glimpse of what took place.
You know, the story is not the Steve Nash, it's Jon Stewart, you know. He looked like a bum. He used to look like an executive on TV, you know. I mean, a great personality and all that now. You know, he's down the drain now.
Well, this happens to people when they leave late night. Have you seen Letterman recently? He left late night and all of a sudden he's got a giant beard. I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to go back to All-Star Weekend and talk about Tracy McGrady. Look at Tracy McGrady in his prime, dunking off of the backboard. This is the highlight of athleticism. And then there's Tracy McGrady in the Celebrity All-Star game.
Oh, Tracy McGrady graduated from high school the same year as me. We're not young anymore, fellas.
Do you question if this is DAP?
Okay, we're going to some virtual reality summit, and look, one of these dudes sold something called Oculus something for $2 billion to Mark Zuckerberg, which leaves me very skeptical about the quality of depth that we're about to see.
Oh, the magic leap. Oh, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm losing my mind.
Wow, it is
You're
hard
awesome.
to get more
So look,
awkward than that. I have been known to shake a fist, but never. Oh, what is that?
What is he about to do to Jose Canseco? He thought he was going to do the elbow bash?
A bash, brother. Let me see that again in slow motion, please. Does he almost elbow that dude in the ear?
And then he almost clotheslines him, and God knows what it smelled like while all of that was going on. It's like they used to call me Palmer Lucky. Now they call me Stan and Lariat Hansen.
Well, that guy got $2 billion on that sale of whatever it was. He cannot afford to buy some nice clothes, you know. I mean, that guy, you know, I'm telling you something. That guy is, he's really something else.
All right, my guy's just taking out the attire of people.
Can't buy any swag either, clearly.
Yeah, it looks like he has been hanging around with Jon Stewart.
There it is. There are Letterman.
Do you question if this second guy should be bummed about his skateboard?
Russia, guys. We're going to Russia.
Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where? Thank you. Thank you. What's going to happen to this skateboard? Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
Good God. Oh, my God. Wow. I mean, there's a baby stroller there. Did that guy go 1,000 miles an hour? Was that a rocket ship or a tiny car?
I mean, gotta admit, that bad boy must have a little more horsepower than we giving him credit for, huh?
Oh.
I'd be bummed about the skateboard, by the way, just before we get a little too far. Like, I survived, and that's great, but life goes on, and life goes on with half a skateboard.
I do love, though, that he picked it up casually as if he meant for all of that to happen. No, I knew that was going to happen.
That's just another day in the life of Russia, baby. Like, think about all these videos that we bring from Russia. At some point, the people become desensitized to the absurdity around them.
Well, that's not the worst skateboard accident we have had here in the show.
We've had a worse one than this?
Yeah, remember this?
Oh, come on, man. That one's not better than what we just saw.
There you go.
Here's the thing. You ain't got to put my name on the screen. Like, if you go broadcast my most embarrassing moment, can't it just be local reporter?
Let me ask you a question. When that guy gets sent out there and thinks to himself, I studied journalism, I'm going to go do the skateboarding story. This can't get any worse than this. Yes, it can.
Time to play the game that is enjoying its new vibrating chair. See? Oh, no.
It's a very unpleasant sound. Tell us what's on television tonight, and he will invariably be intrigued.
Where does it vibrate?
On HBO, Gonzaga, The March to Madness.
Gonzaga has made the tournament 17 straight years, and they're in jeopardy of not making it this year. Sabonis' kid plays for them. I liked him last year. What do we got here?
X. There you go.
Was that? I mean, there was nothing interesting about that. Just because you put things in slow motion, go ahead and put us in slow motion right now. See if it makes any more interest. No, not really. No, thank you. Make it slow motion right now. Go ahead. There it is. There it is. My father's a jellyfish of some sort. Bomani, are you intrigued? A sexual jellyfish.
Who at HBO went to Gonzaga? That's all I want to know.
Right.
Who was like, you know what I've always wanted to know more about? The Gonzaga basketball team. Don't nobody watch watch them on TV when they play basketball. I ain't gonna watch them practice.
Poppy, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. An underdog like Gonzaga making it to the big dance, 17 times in a row. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch what make that school so competitive in college basketball. Wow, why you want me to?
You just ran out of gas. You had nothing.
I did too. We
on
all
TV,
did.
on television.
What
can I tell you? You always hear about Duke and,
No,
That's
just
right,
stop,
that's
just
right.
Stop. You just stopped. You saw your point wasn't good enough at the end, and you just added in college basketball.
On the History Channel, Forged in Fire.
This is a show about blacksmiths. We're not making any more blacksmiths, right? The blacksmith industry is no longer producing blacksmiths. What do we got here? Let's see.
Jonathan, you ready to put your weapon up against the coconuts?
Jay is going to test your weapon's strength and durability with coconut chop.
Well, Murray, it cut really well.
I like the shape of your knife in a chopper. That really adds a lot.
Felt very good.
He's just cutting things.
Definitely through the
Like
laceration
infomercial.
he's
This is not the
disemboweled here.
history of anything.
It's got a good edge to it. Good job.
I mean, what did we just watch? What are we doing? Bomani, are you intrigued?
I had never considered the possibility that we were still rolling swords off the assembly line. Like, I figured when somebody bought a sword, they bought it at an antique shop. Like, people are going to look it up. I need a brand new sword.
Yeah, he's right about that. Poppy, are you intrigued? I mean, why would he have anything here? Of course he's silent, because there's nothing to be had here. Just here. Just here. No, here.
No, wait a second.
No,
I'm thinking
come on,
about
no.
what would I be interested in blacksmith. I'm telling you something,
You're not telling us anything.
Trying to figure out what I'm
We didn't know what we were going to say either.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Gracias, y mañana.
If those guys think that they're swordsmen, I got news for you. They're no swordsmen. You want to see a swordsman?
bleep
I'll
that.
show you
Get
a
out of here
swordsman.
with that, man.
That's right.
No,
That's
no,
right.
no, no.
That's right.
No,
This is a swordsman.
no,